Why Not? A queer podcast.
Thank you to our sponsor, Pineapple Healthcare, an award-winning primary care clinic right here in Orlando.
Pineapple Healthcare offers mental health counseling, HIV, STI testing and treatment, and specializes in care for the LGBTQ+ community.
Open Monday through Saturday. Call today at 407-553-6336 and schedule your appointment.
Pineapple Healthcare. Better together.
They're still here. They're still queer. Are you used to them yet?
Join the Orlando Gay Chorus for an unforgettable evening as they celebrate 35 fabulous years of harmony and inclusivity with their special 35th anniversary concert, A Choral Kaleidoscope.
Friday, May 16th at the Ritz Theater in Sanford, or on May 28th at the Steinmetz Hall at Dr. Phillips Center.
Tickets at orlandogaychorus.org/shows.
Hi, everybody. I'm Rick Todd.
And I'm Jeremy Williams, and you're listening to Wine.
Why Not? A queer podcast.
Episode 122.
122. How exciting.
Yeah, very exciting.
Hey, look, I want to start right off the bat. I just want to tell people immediately, if we sound at all like we're annoyed or tired.
Or winded.
Or, yeah.
Like we've just run a marathon.
And if you're watching the video and if we look like we're in the middle of a workout, it's because for a week now, since Monday, because remember Monday went out when we were recording on Monday. No air
conditioner in this building.
Not even is it just not air conditioning. It's pumping out hot air. Mm-hmm. So that's fun.
They're working on it today, and part of working on it is having the system run while they're putting it in. So warm air is blowing onto us in an already warm, humid, moist building.
And why not record somewhere else, you might ask? Because we're not smart enough. We don't
Too much work.
We barely have the technology down enough to do this right here.
Yeah.
So to move this we'd be screwed.
Yeah. So, pardon the deep breaths. Also, for those of you who think the podcast is too long, I got good news for you. We're probably bringing this one under budget and under time.
Yeah, and I may, just like the film I watched for this particular podcast, I may fall in and out of consciousness.
Hey,
just wake me up if it looks like I need it.
Wake me up before you go, as they say. So 122. I got a few a little tidbits. I'm not gonna lie. It was hard finding stuff for 122. So I asked AI, and AI and I had a conversation about it, and it came up with some really good ones.
How fun.
So 122, the ones that I found, 122 is the name of a 2019 Egyptian psychological horror film. The film is called 122 because that is the emergency number in Egypt. So there you go. 122 film, like actual roll of film, is a film format that was introduced in 1903 and discontinued in 1971. And it makes those postcard size photos, the 3 1/4 by 5 1/2. And it was designed to go inside the 3A folding pocket Kodak camera. So there you go.
Wow, there you go.
Yeah. So if you had one of those cameras back between 1903 and 1971, when you went to the store, you got Kodak 122 film to put into that camera. These are the one I got from AI. 122 beats per minute is the average heart rate during intense exercise.
So right now,
we're at about 122 beats per minute.
It's funny you got this from AI. Did AI say something like 122 is the number of times I'm going to stab you when we take over the human race?
No, it said 122 times is the amount I love you, Jeremy. I know that you respect robot overlords.
This is how your loyalty runs. First of all, it was you were going to sell us all out when they came to take us to camps, and now you're just going to sell out the whole human race.
Hey,
and join the robots.
The robots love me more than the humans do.
I want to dive into this a little bit. No.
Well, since we're on the topic of this, because I was interested in this, have you seen those AI like chat apps you can download?
Oh, that'll be like your boyfriend or something?
Yeah, well, I think some people are using it for like sex stuff, but it's like you can have like friends, or they do like role play stuff. So they have like I got an offer because it's always on my Facebook thing, and it's $40 a month. I was like, no fucking way. But I got an offer for a free trial for it for a month. So I was like, we'll download it and try it out. And there's like spies and robots and all sorts of things. And you do like act out different scenes and scenarios just texting with them. And I was really mean to one, and he was like, I don't want to talk to you anymore, and just stopped talking to me because I was very rude to him. And it was kind of fun and exciting.
Are you sure you weren't accidentally texting somebody for real?
You know what?
Funny.
That might have been the case. If that is the case, I apologize to
so
whoever
what I'm learning
I said,
from you,
you're a douchebag.
what I'm learning from you is if Westwood was real, you would get a black hat.
Yeah. I want to say I wouldn't, but yeah.
If you said you wouldn't, you would be lying.
There is this one where I'm talking to the guy, and the robot person, and I'm like degrading him, and he's like, I don't know why you're so mean to me. I thought we were friends. And I told him, because there was another guy in the room, and I was like, this guy, he's a genie, and all you have to do is wish for us to be friends again. And he goes, that's the stupidest thing I've ever heard, Jeremy. And I was having an argument with this AI guy, convincing him that the third guy was a genie. And I was like, no, seriously, it's a genie. Just make a wish. So he goes, ugh, fine. I wish you were nice to me. And I was like, genies aren't real, you stupid motherfucker. And he stopped talking to me. It was hilarious. I apologize for tormenting that robot. He will probably come back and kill me once they take over.
I'm going to tell you what, that's going in a database. And when they take over,
they'll remember.
They're coming looking for you. They're like the Borg. It's going to be a collective mind. They're all going to know everything about all of us.
The North Collective always remembers.
All right. Note that Jeremy will die in AI apocalypse. All right.
Although I do have two more interesting
Please
tidbits.
do.
In the original Pokédex, which I guess is the Rolodex of Pokemon,
Nerd alert.
The
Caitlin's getting excited.
122nd Pokemon in the Pokédex is Mr. Mime.
Oh, I like Mr. Mime.
So there you go.
Nobody likes a mime.
If you're into that Pokemon stuff.
He's a very creepy Pokemon.
And the last one I have for you is Code 122 at the FBI refers to wire fraud investigations. So there you go. Those are my 122s.
I hope that you don't know that for
I didn't
personal
know
reasons.
that. AI knew that.
Oh, jeez. Now they're just going to lie to you. You're just going to get bullshit. And they're going to laugh.
And they're like, meh.
AI's back there going like,
Jeremy's
there is
stupid.
no 122 code in FBI, you stupid human.
He
Take
sounds
that,
retarded.
genie bitch.
He's stupid. Fucking AI. They're so mean.
They're
Anyway,
like,
I
I
still
don't sound
love
like
you.
that.
I still love you, AI. Don't murder me. Anyway, do you have any?
They're gonna convince your
I'm
AI.
already
They're
sweating
gonna
my
convince
ass
your
off.
AI porn to like stop in the middle and walk out the door.
I will say though, certain ones, because they're categories, certain ones are very horny. Certain AIs are very horny, and
Those
I was
are-
like, you need to calm
That's
down.
not an AI. That's spam. They're trying to get your money.
Well, they need to stop hitting me up at 2 in the morning.
One of them is a Nigerian prince who needs a lot of money. I don't understand.
He told me he loved me. So what are your 122s?
Well, I love to do the cinema ones.
Of course you do.
So here we go. So I'm gonna. There's a movie. It's a 1975 movie. You may know this one. So I'm gonna read some of the cast in it.
Okay.
And then you can tell me if you know it. And if you can't get it by the cast, then I'll tell you the director and see if you can get the film. 122nd best film ever made in the history of movies.
Okay.
It's got Lily Tomlin. 1975. Lily Tomlin. Ned Beatty.
Is it Nashville?
How do you know this?
Because I know that she was nominated for an Oscar, Lily Tomlin, for Nashville in 1975.
Have you seen this movie?
I have seen part of it. It's one of those that's a Robert Altman classic, and I've seen parts of it, but I've never sat through the whole thing.
I kind of want to watch it. It's got like a really young Jeff Goldblum in it.
Yeah, it's a classic film. It's one of his best.
Keith Carradine is in it, which is funny because I thought, oh, that's the guy from the A-Team. So I looked it up. No, his brother is. And he looks just like him.
Brothers be like that
Did you know
sometimes.
that?
Nah, I had no idea.
I think my brother and I look a lot alike, too.
Me and my younger brother look a lot alike. My older brother got my parents like darker features, but me and my sister and my younger brother got all the
I mean, I'm the hot one.
gingery ones.
But we're kind of alike.
Sure. Not that I'm saying,
Speaking of my brother, can I
that
tell
your
you, I'm
brother's
going to tell you a
attractive. Your
story.
brother's a good-looking guy.
That's just weird because I just said I look like him. Are you hitting on me?
I'm trying to be polite. It's rude for me to say you all are butt ugly.
This is getting awkward. No. What is this heat
You're
wine
some of the
doing to
ugliest
you?
people I've ever seen. Move on.
Y'all look like your mother. We
Oh,
should.
no, I love your mother.
She's wonderful.
She's beautiful.
So my brother, not the one that I think that I look like that lives here. I just have people tell us we look like. The one that lives in upstate New York.
Yeah.
I was driving somewhere. I don't know where I was. Anyway, he messaged me yesterday and said that he does a lot of driving with his job in upstate New York. I think he delivers car parts to car places, something like that. I don't know. Anyway, he does a lot of driving, and he said he got sick of listening to music, so he started searching for podcasts to listen to, and he found ours. And he started listening to it.
Oh, what do you think?
And he said that it's hilarious and that he laughs a lot and that he loves it. And I guess he was listening to an episode where at the end of it, we were like, Jeremy's moving to New York, so we don't know what we're going to do. And he said, he's like, I hope you keep doing it because he wants to keep listening. Isn't that crazy?
That's fantastic. Well, I'm glad that you're a fan.
Yeah.
And we'll try to keep the humor up for you.
I got to say,
I'm sure you're just as hot as your other brothers.
And it only took me 122 episodes to get my family to listen. No, so welcome. I hope you're enjoying it. I hope you're driving around right now safely in a very nice, cool
I hope you
weather
have air
New
conditioner
York.
in your car.
Yeah, because we don't have it here. If you haven't heard, 122nd best director of all time.
Well, I know it's not Robert Altman because he would definitely be in the top 20.
I think we've already done him anyway. No?
I don't know. Maybe. I think
Don't
when
you
we went
think
through the top 10,
that Christopher Nolan would have been in the top 10, maybe?
I think Christopher Nolan is a great director, but Robert Altman is like a classic Hollywood director.
I watched the preview for Nashville, and it looks like something I would really enjoy. So I'm gonna watch it.
I think you would. From what I've seen of it, I think you would.
I mean, all these really great things came out in 1975. Me, Air Supply.
Sure.
Oh, by the way, can I tell you this? We talked
Jaws.
about it was a big part of last episode. I talked about Air Supply. It was my publisher's desk in this issue. All this stuff. Fourth and final show. Had a great time. What a great tour. All this stuff is great. And then I get an email today that on October 11th, they're going to be at the Dr. Phillips Performing Arts Center. How am I supposed to not go to that? Of course I'm going to go. Anyway. But I will not pay more for tickets to go there than I did at Carnegie Hall. Actually, if you're listening, and I know that you are, because Dr. Phillips loves us.
Of course.
Just give me 2 tickets.
Just give them to me.
Just give me 2 orchestra. Just the $89 tickets. Just come on.
Come on, just
So
give
who
them to
cares?
me.
2 of them. Anyway,
Come on, I need
122nd greatest director of all time. Let's have it. Just an initial guess.
Steven Soderbergh.
No. Okay, so here we go. I think there's no way I can name a movie and you're not going to get it right off the bat. So I tried to find like the most obscure things. And then I was like, well, I've seen this one and I kind of liked it and it was a little weird. But you're going to get it. So this game is going to be ruined for me. Mimic.
Mimic?
Did I find one? Did I stump you?
Who directed? Guillermo del Toro.
Damn it. I got excited for half a second.
You know what? When you said Mimic, and in my head I heard Memento, and I was like, we already did Christopher Nolan. And then I was like, no, Mimic's the bug one.
And I can type really well, so I wrote the Sape of Water. The Shape of Water.
Nice.
Pan's Labyrinth.
Both excellent films.
I saw Pan's Labyrinth.
Both Oscar-winning films. Shape of Water won Best Picture.
I don't know.
Yeah. Nothing like a fish man fucking a lady.
If I wanted to see a
like
lady,
the opposite
if
of
I wanted to
Little
see a
Mermaid.
lady do a fish, I'd watch Showgirls. I never watched Shape of Water. Was it as good as people say?
It's definitely it's a genre film. You have to be into kind of like old Hollywood Universal horror because it's kind of a take on the Creature from the Black Lagoon. But it's definitely a period piece. It's a horror film. It's a love story. It's very Guillermo del Toro.
Can I tell you a story about the Creature from the Black Lagoon real quick? Just because my brother's listening, and this is the brother that lives in upstate New York now.
Yeah.
We watched the Creature from the Black Lagoon a long time ago in the 80s when I was 5 years old. It was actually 1980.
Yeah.
And I was 5 years old and we watched this, right? I think it was out during that time. And we watched it with my other brother who lives glad to play softball with. And when it was over, my older brother, the one in New York, wanted to go see his girlfriend. It was like 2 a.m. and we lived in Houston, Texas.
How much older than he is?
He's I was 5. He was like maybe 13.
Oh, okay.
Something like that. Yeah,
That's still young to be going out at 2 a.m. to meet your girlfriend.
Well, I mean, yeah, he was a teenager.
He was a
teenager, and I was 5 years old. So it was a really, really young for someone to sneak out the house and go walking down the railroad tracks in Houston, Texas.
Oh, he took you with him?
Yes, I went with him.
Oh.
This is the whole story. It was crazy, right? So I don't even know if my mom knows all this. So Mom, stop listening. So we go. And we're walking down the railroad tracks past the Gallery Mall. I mean, it couldn't have been the greatest area of town. So he goes over. We get to the house, and he like knocks on the thing, and she doesn't come to the window. So, but then he comes running up to me. I mean, my memory of it is I was 5 years old, and I'm 50 now, so it was quite a while ago. And yeah, so what? You know what? I'm gonna listen to it. It was 45 years ago. Get over it. So. Then all of a sudden, this car comes, and it was the girl's father, and he was chasing us in his car with a gun.
Oh my
God!
God!
We had to like dive into places. It was kind of funny. It was my Stand By Me moment. You remember that movie, walking down the railroad tracks? And so then we're walking back to the house. This is why I remember it so well. We were listening to a little radio that we had with us, what they would call in the 80s a boom box, and the. And this is the kind of music we listen to. We were listening to All My Exes Live in Texas. No, wait, that wasn't it. It wasn't All My Exes Live. It was Houston Means That I'm One Day Closer to You. George Strait, same guy. They sound the same. Anyway, so we're listening to that song as we go into the house, and we crawl into the window, and we're like, we did it. And as soon as we get in there, my oldest brother is standing in the doorway, and he just smiles, and he goes, y'all are so busted. And then he went to bed. And so we went to bed, and when I woke up in the morning, my mom was standing in the doorway, and I opened my eyes, and I immediately went, slammed them shut, and I just laid there forever. I swear I was grounded for she was so mad. Of course she was. But I got grounded. I mean, it probably was for a week. It felt like 6 years.
Yeah.
I don't remember leaving the house until I was 13 years old. Anyway, fun story.
Good times. All right.
So that's it for 122. Huh?
All right. Beautiful.
Yeah, I mean, I wrote the Egyptian Horror Story thing down, which kind of sounds like a movie I want to watch.
Yeah. If it has subtitles, I don't like reading.
I know. We just talked about that in there. Yeah. I was like, the only time I like to read subtitles is if I'm watching a movie that's dubbed.
Yeah.
And I'm comparing what they say.
Oh, see,
because it's always different.
Yeah, exactly. It is. So busy week.
How was your week?
My week was probably not as busy as yours. I know you were out and about doing a lot of stuff.
I'm a worldly man, Jeremy.
Yeah, mine was basically just getting stuff ready for the move. We officially signed the lease for the apartment, and I had to, because when you first get an apartment and they want the security deposit and the first month's rent, but you can't send a personal check because they don't trust you yet.
Right.
They also don't want to do credit. They want a money order or a certified
Bitcoin.
check or Bitcoin.
Or anything from a Trump account will work too.
So I didn't want to go through a certified check because I have an online bank through USAA, so it's a little harder to do a certified check. So I was like, I'll do a money order. So basically, I had to go to Amscot, and I went to the one right across the street here. And I had to stand at the ATM.
Amscot. That used to be my life.
And I had to withdraw just under $4,000 in cash. Now, the ATMs at Amscot only let you take up to $600 out and only give you 20s. So I had to do 7 transactions. As with every transaction, my hands started to shake and my heart started to beat because I was like, if somebody walks in, sees me with this stack of 20s and robs me, I am fucked. This is all the money I have to get my apartment. I have no way of getting this money back.
Where was this Amscot? Which one?
Right across the street.
From here?
Yeah.
I wouldn't have been worried about getting robbed. I would have been worried that the cops would have shown up and taken your money and seized it and thought you were going to make a drug deal.
Yeah, I didn't think about that, but
that would have been way scarier because then you don't get it back.
Yeah. So my thought was, because they have those windows there, that if anybody had come in there, I was going to take however much money I had, the stack, I was going to slide it under to the tellers on the other side and be like, no matter what happens, do not give anyone my money. But it went clean and clear.
No matter what you hear on this side of the glass.
I had my stack of 20s.
2 seconds later, Jeremy's beating on the glass. Please give him the money. No. 5 minutes ago, Jeremy said no.
So I've got my stack of 20s. I slide it under, and I was like, I need to get a money order. And the guy looks down at the stack of 20s and goes, did you get that out of our ATM? And I was like, yeah. And he goes, okay. I guess I just drained his ATM and now he's got to go fill it or something.
Just take the money and go back and fill it.
Yeah, just take this stack and go stick it back in it. So I got a money order. I got several money orders because they only do up to $1,000 per money order. So he gave me a sheet of money orders. And then I had to go down and have them certified mail. It's a whole pain in the ass.
How much did you pay for those money orders?
They're free. Money orders are free. Yeah, at Amscott. Nice shout out.
It's just a joke because I have a friend who is an actress and she got cast in a commercial for Amscott.
Oh, did she?
And her thing was like, money orders are free.
Yeah.
So she was also a bartender, and every time I would go to the bar, I'd order a drink, and then I'd be like, hey, Amy, how much are money orders at Amscott? And she's like, fuck you. That's what I went to. I went to Dr. Phillips the other day to see a show, and Nick was bartending, and so Jen and I walked up where he does that Wawa commercial.
Yeah,
and so we walked up there, and I was telling him what we need, and I was like, Jen, what should we do for dinner? And she goes, pizza, and he's like, fuck you guys.
So I did that, and then finally got someone to take my dining room table off my hands. I've been trying to sell it.
Oh, that's exciting. Oh, you gave it away.
So I just gave it away to this nice couple who needed a table, and they were like, when can I come pick it up? Today, while we're recording this. And I was like, well, I got to be at work at 8:30, so if you can come before 8:30. So she texted me at 7 o'clock this morning. She's like, we're on our way. And then they came and picked it up, took the table. They thanked me. They were like, you're so kind. God bless you. I was like, yeah. I'm going back to bed. Leave. And then I got a message from her this afternoon. She said, your post said that there were 2 inserts that go with the table. I was like, oh, yeah, those are still in my garage. My bad. I was like, you can come get those tomorrow. So she got the table and the chairs, but the inserts, what do you call the inserts? Like
Leafs?
Leafs. Okay. That's what I always thought they were called. It always sounded weird to me calling them
Leaf Garrett's.
Leafs in your table. And I was like, that doesn't sound right.
Do you know who Leif Garrett is?
So I've always called them inserts. Yeah, I know who Leif Garrett.
He was hot.
He was
when he was a
nice
youngin'.
flowy hair.
But he got in a car accident, killed his best friend, and then got really hooked on drugs and alcohol, and doesn't look
There's
like
a
that anymore.
TikToker who dances who has long flowy hair that people call TikTok Leif Garrett. And
I would totally follow TikTok Leif Garrett.
I will show you after this. I recently found out he has a very spicy Twitter and an OnlyFans. So I will let you see that after we're done here.
I'm not going to say that I did this, but this wouldn't be something that I wouldn't do. I recently found out that there's this person. Like, I saw a video on Facebook, and I was like, what a handsome person that
what
is.
A handsome fella you are.
And then I guess I had deleted my Twitter, but then I found out that this person had a Twitter, and I was like, I bet that's a spicy Twitter. So I signed
You
up.
can always tell when you see
up.
a video on Instagram or TikTok whether it's a little spicy or
I
not.
signed up for Twitter. I follow one person.
Nice.
Now I'll follow 2.
Oh, very nice. Yeah, I'll give you his tweet or his Twitter
tweeter?
handle. His Twitter handle. His it's X handle, I guess is what they call it now.
We say X like we say Gulf of America.
Yeah.
We don't.
Like, we know what you mean, but we're not using it.
We say it ironically.
What else did I do this week?
Drinking our lattes.
Our wine lattes. The only other thing I did was I booked everything. This weekend is going to be busy. I have to have the carpets cleaned at the house.
God, I hope that's not a euphemism.
No. Literally, I have to have the carpets cleaned. And I got the checklist from my rental company. And they're like, hey, here's things you might want to do on your own. Because if we have to do it, it's going to come out of your security deposit. And it's usually more than what you can pay on your own, which is cleaning the carpets. which I'm having done this weekend for like $50. And then just like cleaning the house and having the yard done and all that stuff. So I'm having all that done this weekend. And I've got a collection of Lego sets that I'm like, okay, these are the ones I'm not taking with me. So Bricks and Minifigs down over by the Florida Mall is going to buy some of them off me, give me a little more extra pocket money. And then I'm going to get a truck and pack all my shit into it. And I'm going to put it in a storage unit until I'm ready to leave.
Very nice.
And then then I'm going to be looking for a Vrbo or an Airbnb that is within my price range. I was trying to be Mr. Cheapskate, and I looked into men's shelters in the area, but there's a whole process to go through.
Oh my god!
To stay in a men's shelter, so I'm just going to do
Is there not
Airbnb.
a youth hostel?
Huh?
Is there not a hostel?
In Orlando? You know what? I didn't think to look for a hostel.
Check for a
I might look
hostel.
into that. I looked into a shelter, and you got to have like a letter signed from a social worker and stuff to bring to these, and you have to prove that you're looking for work and shit. There's a whole process you have to go to a shelter.
Here's what you can do. I learned this from there's a group of people in St. Pete that have done this. Find a house that's like abandoned.
Yeah.
And then take about 9 feet of the backyard and just set up shop.
I'll just do that in the house I'm in already. We have a lovely backyard at that house.
Yeah,
so
if you don't mind working out of St. Pete for those days,
that's true.
You can just move in with them.
Forget
And you
that.
can
If I'm
use
gonna
my
do that,
bathroom.
I'll just squat in your house.
Well, you could do.
Once I'm there, you're going to have to get a court order to get me out.
No, Jeremy. If you need a place to stay, you will sleep in the backyard. I mean, there is always Jen's mom is moving out of the house this weekend. There's always that.
I got you. I actually thought about it because the whole process is Chris and I are getting a hotel for gay day, or for one magical weekend, and then maybe Gay Days will give us a room. I don't know. We'll find out. So I'm kind of filling in the gaps, and then after that, I might hit Jen up for a few days here and there. But I'm trying to, because I mean, I found some pretty decent priced Airbnbs, but you know, I'm Mr. Thrifty. If I don't have to spend the money, I don't want to have to.
Did you look into like those week-long places? There's one over like
Kathleen
on,
told me about
on
that yesterday.
Extended like stay,
yeah.
Extended America or something like that.
Yeah,
There's
I
one
might check those.
on Goldenrod. Anyway, we can talk about that
Oh
offline.
yeah. So
we're doing a podcast.
that's basically my week. Is just getting things set up.
Anyone who thought that we were going to get this podcast done in under an hour and a half is
right.
kidding
I mean,
themselves.
we're at 26 minutes. All right. That's my week. How was your week?
My week was fantastic.
You went to one of my favorite cities.
I did, but there was something that I said I was going to talk about that happened on Monday, and I cannot remember what it was. So I'll just start talking, and if I remember
it comes to you.
Yeah, I went to Philadelphia. Ryan and I, our soon-to-be editor-in-chief, went to Philadelphia for a conference. Oops, did I let the cat out of the bag? I'll tell you.
I'm sure you did go to a conference. Was Air Supply in Philadelphia this week?
We went to it was a conference by the Linfest Institute and Press Forward. And since we were recipients of the Press Forward grant, we wanted to go and to
Schmooze, mingle.
Well, just to say thank you, which we absolutely did. Every time somebody said they were with Press Forward, we're like, I love you. And we got pictures with. Excuse me, they had these mugs that say Press Forward, and we got pictures on their thing. And
nice.
It was so funny because we were doing that because we wanted to, because we were nerdy that way.
Yeah.
And then the woman who designed the mug was there, and
So you
she's
took
like,
photos with her?
I'm with Press Forward. Can I take a picture of you guys holding that? I designed it. No, they just took a picture of us, and then like all of a sudden, we must have 8 pictures of just Ryan and I holding mugs taken. It was the weirdest thing. But we were like, okay. I was like, we're going to have a billboard somewhere. So anyway, but it was about philanthropy and journalism. So it was good because, you know, we need all the help that we can get.
Yeah.
I mean, honestly, y'all, if you're listening to this and you appreciate free local journalism, you should find out how you can support that because it is so necessary and
especially now.
Yeah, and money just doesn't flow through. Like you think newspaper. It used to be that like media moguls, newspaper owners owned sports teams and all that.
It used to be back in the day, people who owned newspapers were the richest people in the country.
Yeah, and let me tell you,
Not anymore.
as someone who owns a newspaper, This is not the case.
Not the case anymore.
And I was sitting there making a joke to somebody one time because there were some groups there that had like development teams of people. These were mainly like not for profit newsrooms have like a development team and that kind of stuff. But all the for profits are like there's nobody. Like this one person and I were joking around it, and I said, "This is the main line to Watermark.
Yeah.
If somebody calls the main line to Watermark, it will ring on my cell phone, and I will walk out of the conference to go answer the phone because that's what we have. We don't have a huge staff, and there's not the resources aren't there to pay for all that. So we need to find other ways to fund it, and this is a great conference for that. I will say it leaned real heavy towards the nonprofit sector. The philanthropy for-profit newsrooms is new, and so it's something we're trying to get into and get rolling. And so it's a slow process, but it's a lot of great information, and so we had a really great time. So I'll just right off the bat, I'll say Philly's great. I understand why you like it so much, and I understand why Mark Siegel likes it so much. He's the Stonewall vet that runs Philadelphia News. Yeah, he's fabulous. I'll say we ran into him. I messaged him when we got there. I was like, "Oh, I never told Mark that we were coming," and I looked at the list of the attendees, and he was on there. I figured just because it's in Philadelphia and he was there, so I emailed him and I said, "I'm in town for this Lundfest conference. I'll keep an eye out for you." So at the opening happy hour, he came there specifically to meet up with us, which was really nice, and we got to chat with him and find out like he and I share a brain when it comes to Broadway because he was like, "What do you think of Sunset Boulevard?" And I was like, "I think it was great, but it wasn't Sunset Boulevard." And we were bonded over that completely. But he was telling us that he was going to New York the next day, and he's like, "It's just a 90-minute train ride." And it never clicked to me. So the next day I'm out, Ryan and I go to dinner, and I was like, "Ryan, why didn't we catch a train at 5 o'clock and go to New York?" And he was like, I asked Wade if I thought, or if he thought you would go see Death Becomes Her again. And I was like, I totally would have gone.
Yeah.
But it was too late at that point. Anyway, we had a good time. When we first got there, Ryan was super tired. And so I'm going to see let's see if this is as funny to you guys as it was to all of us. So we're in a lift and we're on our way to the hotel, and the guy's trying to be real talkative, which the last several haven't tried to be. So this guy's like trying to talk to us a lot, but he's really into sports. So he's telling us all about the sports teams and this kind of stuff and asking us about the Tampa Bay Bucks. I'm like, okay, sports isn't our thing. But he was like, "So how's Tampa?" He's like, "I used to live there and blah, blah, blah." And Ryan is exhausted because our flights were very early. And he says something like, "Oh, yeah, there's a lot of Tampa's just filled with like Cuban." And there was this long pause, like Cuban, and then he's like a couple of seconds. And then he goes, "The cigars." And I was like, "Oh my God."
What the hell?
I was like, "Jesus, Ryan." I was like, I was sitting here thinking, why are you being so racist in this car? And then this guy, like, it floored him. He was laughing so hard. And he's like, "Yeah," because I can't wait to tell everybody about this. Like, "Hey, how was your day?" He's like, "Yeah, I had this guy. He had a problem with Cuban cigars." So it sparked this whole conversation. It's so funny. Yeah, so that was cool. What else happened?
You guys got good Philly cheesesteaks?
Well, we did. When we got there, it was early, so we're like, let's go for a walk, and we wanted to see the city, so we didn't take the subway. We weren't familiar with it, so we jump on so we start walking, and
where was your hotel?
Our hotel was on 33rd Street and Market, so we're on Market and 33rd. Okay. So we wanted to see some of the historical sites. Those are at like 5th Street and Market. So if for those who like live in a grid system, we walked from 33rd Street to 5th Street. Yeah. That's a long walk.
It is a lengthy walk.
It was a beautiful day, though. This was the one beautiful day we got. It was really beautiful. But we're walking down there, and we get like 2 or 3 blocks down the road, and all of a sudden, this woman to our right, like, gets airborne and, like, face plants into the ground. And we're like, "Oh, my God." And then you hear this guy say, "Move it, bitch." And we all look around, and, like, this whole group of people were stunned. And we're looking at her, and she didn't really know what happened. And somebody goes, "Did he push you?" And she's like, "Yeah." And so I guess she was looking at her phone, and he was just walking through and just knocked her down and kept going.
Was she walking and looking at her phone, or was she stopped in the middle of the sidewalk?
I think she was
at her phone?
walking because the way she went down, she went down and
She
flew.
stumbled like
yeah,
she'd
she
been
would have
walking.
just fallen down the ground. And so it was. So one lady was just like, "He hit you," and she's like, "Yeah, I think so." And she's like, "Call 911." But the guy was walking away, and we were all sitting there. I said to Ryan, "I was like, we can follow him. You know, if we see a cop, we can say this is if you got the 911 call, this is the guy." Yeah, we started walking, and he just kept looking back at us. What an uncomfortable, weird thing. But that was the only super weird thing that happened. So everything else was great. We got down to the sites. We saw the Liberty Bell and Independence Hall, all very cool.
Yeah.
I did notice this, and I'm just going to say I appreciate this because we live in a conservative state, and we always have. Or I always have. I was in Ohio. I lived in Houston. I lived here. I lived in North Carolina. The 3 years I spent in New York were the most liberal of my life. And so it's so interesting to me to be in a city where they acknowledge the history of a country.
Yeah.
And it's okay, folks. It's okay. Don't get upset with me. It's okay to talk about the history of slavery and how damaging that is to an entire people. And learn from those lessons and not repeat them. That's okay to do. No one's saying you did this.
Yeah.
So anyway, but you walk around there and there's all of this history about that. And there's all of this celebration of people who overcame things. And I think that's great. And there were all kinds of people. There were monuments and history plaques for queer people, for women, for black people, for, the good work that straight white men were doing. It was a celebration of everybody.
One of the things I really love about Philadelphia is those plaques that they have throughout the city. And it's just like, here was a historical moment and here's what happened. And there's one, I told Ryan, I messaged him and I said, if you guys get a chance to go by, it's next to Independence Hall. It's the Quakers Meeting House. And it's their, one of the oldest meeting houses, which is their version of a church in the country. And in 1978, it's where the organizers of the Gay and Lesbian March in D.C., it's where they met to organize before they went. And there's a big plaque out front about how the Quakers were there and offered up the space for the gays and lesbians to meet and offered them support and everything. And I thought it was really great. And there's, like I said, those little plaques around the town. It's a really fun way to learn just about every little corner of Philadelphia.
And we just happened to, as we walked around, there's one for Philadelphia Gay News, where their original office was. They've got a plaque set up there about how the importance of that magazine or that newspaper and what it's done for the community. And it was great. We just stumbled upon it, so we got a picture with it, which was really cool.
When I was there for the National Gay and Lesbian Journalism Association, and the first day there, the Visit Philadelphia and the Philadelphia Gay News gave a tour that first day, gave us a tour around, and Mark Siegel took us to that plaque and the I know this isn't what they're officially called, but the gay old folks home. They have an old folks home out. Yeah, they took us there and took us a tour around there. But Mark
a
Siegel
retirement
was,
home or whatever.
That's what I was saying. Yeah, old folks home, the retirement home.
Typically, it's the old folks who retire.
But he took us there, and he was a part of getting that all set up. And he's a really interesting guy.
He's a really interesting guy, and he loves Philadelphia.
Yeah. Oh my God.
And he's such a good ambassador for it. But he gets excited about things, and he makes you excited about them when you talk to him. And just a really what a well-rounded person. Like, he's just so he likes the things I like history, and he gets excited about it, and he's so knowledgeable about things, and he's has been fighting for the rights for LGBTQ people since he was 18 years old, and Stonewall happened. Like, good for him. He's just hasn't wavered in it, keeps doing it. He's been all over the place, interviewed all over the place. He's just a great person.
Yeah.
So we did go to the place that you said to go for cheesesteaks.
Shays.
Yeah, and it was insanely delicious. Also, nicest people, because we got there and we're like, I don't know what to do. I don't know how this works. And I was like, what's good? And she kind of went through the whole thing. And she was really, I don't know if she was an owner or a manager or if they would appreciate this, but she's like, listen, if you're going to get cheese and mushrooms and all that stuff on this, she's like, don't get the filet and cover it up with cheese. If you're going to do that, just get the prime rib. Because there was like $15 price difference in getting like a sliced filet or this. It's just really kind of smart and cool, and it was so insanely delicious. The fries were delicious. The cheesesteak was delicious.
Yeah, the 2 times I've been there, the first time the lady who worked at the desk at the hotel, she's the one who told me to go to Shays. And then when I went back with my sister, there's a couple of places in the Reading Terminal Market.
Yes.
And we went there, and that's where me and Tabby got our cheesesteak, and that was phenomenal too.
We were staying real far from that, so we didn't.
So if you ever go back, and I hope that you do, go to the Reading. It's such an awesome place.
I've been there. Dylan and I went when
okay.
we went to there was a Enigma conference or something that we went to up there.
Oh, yeah,
and so,
I love the
so we had
terminal.
gone
It's
in there,
fantastic.
but I couldn't find it. I couldn't remember the name of it, and then we couldn't find it. So we must have passed it on our big trip back and forth. But so we did that, and then the next day for dinner we went to the place that you recommended, Tom's Dim Sum.
Oh yeah,
Yeah, it wasn't bad. It was pretty good.
Did you try the soup dumplings?
Yeah, I wasn't upset with them. They were good.
They're pretty good, right?
Yeah, it was all pretty good. And I have this thing, like, this is my thing. Soup dumplings and cold noodles and a peanut sauce is some good shit, y'all.
Yeah. I thought it was
good.
funny because that was also recommended to me because their Chinatown is like right next to the hotel. Because I stayed right across from the
we were
Hard Rock.
very curious when we went there. We're like, how did he find this place? Like, it's just not.
It's a hole in the wall place,
And it's under like an overpass, and it's very
the
weird.
The lady, when I walked up, then I said, "You ever seen that thing you do, the Tom Hanks movie?"
Yes.
And when the drummer guy, I forget his name, he comes out and he asks the door guy, he goes, "Where can I go for real good jazz?" He goes, "You want good jazz?" It's basically what I did with the lady. I was like, I need a good cheesesteak and just like a good place to go get dinner. And she goes, "You want the good places?" And I was like, "Yeah, I want to go where the Phillies people go." And she said, "Go to Shays for a Philly cheesesteak." And she goes, "Tom's Dim Sum." And I was like, a Chinese restaurant called Tom's, it can't be that good. But it was really good. She'd like go down this road.
It's THOM, isn't it?
No, it's TOM.
Oh, okay.
Yeah. Tom's Dim Sum.
Well, I'll tell you what, it is. The inside of it's really cute.
Yeah.
But when you're walking up to it, it looks shady
it's a
as
little
shit.
shady. It's a little
and
shady.
we were walking up, and I was like, "Where is he?" I was like, "We can go back." Like, I was like, "We'll just go back." And so, but when you get around to the front of it, it looks like, so you get inside, and you're like, "Oh, it looks like." Ryan is so Cincinnati. I'm sorry, Ryan. I know you're listening. He's so Cincinnati. So there's what delivers the food to the waitress is a robot.
Yeah.
And so they load the robot in the kitchen, and it comes out into the dining hall, and he goes, and when the robot came out, Ryan about shit himself. He was like, and I was like, "What?" He goes, "Have you ever seen this?" And I'm like, "Yeah, I've seen it at other restaurants."
There's a couple of places here that
Yeah,
do
when
it.
the place we went to for soup dumplings,
Where I got
where they were not good.
the chicken
Oh
necks.
my god, where you ate the chicken necks. Like
Those were good. Dylan, you know how
he was,
Dylan
like,
is. He doesn't
soppy.
like things that are on the bone. I thought he was going to throw up watching me eat these things because I just had I was like, I'm going to try the chicken necks. And they brought out a massive bowl.
Massive,
And I'm
saucy.
just sucking the meat off these chicken necks. And I thought Dylan was going to have just pass out.
I wish you all could see Caitlin's face. I did it on the podcast now.
Yeah.
Caitlin's face. Sorry.
Another place,
blame
if you guys
Kathleen
do
for
that.
that.
Back, whether it's you and Dylan or whether Ryan goes back, I forgot to tell you, McGillen's Ale House. McGillen's Old Ale House. And it's one of the oldest bars in Philadelphia. It was like open in 1775. And above the bar is this gold hand holding a bell. And back when the bar was first open, it was on the door. So when you open it, the bell would ring. That was the hand was holding would ring. It reminds me a lot. I don't know if you watched How I Met Your Mother. It reminds me a lot of that bar that they all hung out in. I went there the first time I went there, and I took my sister there. Best fish and chips I've ever had in my life.
See, we were staying in the town or the part of town where there's like 1,000 colleges. Like every block, there's a different college. It's very odd. And then a bunch of medical centers and that kind of stuff. But we went to an Irish place there that was really kind of cool. When you go inside, it looked like it was the dungeon of a thing.
It's all of them are like that dark old wood. Yeah,
and it was
it's
and
really
a lot of
cool.
brick and everything.
Yeah.
But and I had fish and chips, which I haven't had in a long time, which I'm still suffering from. But they were delicious. Anyway, so that was a good trip. Oh, we ended up finally taking the subway. Did you take the subway while you were there?
I did. I like their subway. It's small.
It's
a
weird.
very small
it's
one.
very small, and it's just weird to me because
It's like 2 tracks,
it
right?
looks
It's only
like
2
a
tracks.
bus. It looks like an underground bus, not like a subway, but like a bus, but has railroad wheels. And then so that was weird, but also, and there are no instructions on how to do this. I feel like in New York, they're like, here, buy this thing and do this with it and put this here.
And then
No.
they say it all again in Spanish. Sort of like when you go to ride the
no
monorail.
instructions whatsoever. So we get there and we're like, how do we even, we couldn't find a way to pay. There were no turnstiles. And we're like, what do you do? And there was nothing that said just pay when you get on the subway. So when you get on the subway, there was a thing and we ran the card. And then it stopped at every stop along the way until we got off on the one we wanted to.
Yeah.
But it only stopped because someone else on the subway was getting off at the stop and pulled the lever. There was no instructions that said pull the lever when you get to your stop. So on the way back, we're just sitting there and it passes our stop and we're like, what? We even stood up and we're like, and then we're looking around and people are staring at us.
I went for that conference. Visit Philly gave us a subway card. So you just scan the little card.
Yeah.
And so we didn't have to like pay for it.
Well, they did not meet us at the hotel.
They did not, no.
And so I was like, maybe you pull this. I always thought that was an emergency brake, but Ryan pulled it, and then we got off at the next stop.
Yeah.
So, but it was a really great time. It rained. It was cold the entire time except for that first day. But it didn't bother me one bit. I really liked it.
Yeah.
It was a good time.
Beautiful city. I love it. I've been there twice. I'll definitely, especially now that I know it's only a 90-minute train ride.
90-minute
I'll
train
probably
ride.
be going all the time. The Mutter Museum, that's the medical museum I was telling Ryan about. That has like a bunch of military.
I hear it's tough.
Bunch of medical oddities there. It is.
I like when I say things that disappoints Caitlin. She's like, that's the stupidest joke I've ever heard. It's one tough Mutter museum.
But if you go back, it is such a good museum. And then I saw from your photos, you guys went to Philly's Gayborhood. Which, when I was there, Mark Siegel took us through, and there's some really great restaurants. And there's a mosaic museum that they took us to that was absolutely amazing and gorgeous, and you guys should check that out next time you're up there. And then the last one was, I think it's called Mom's Tattoo, and it's like a little eatery in the bottom, and then there's a stairway upstairs that opens at 4:00 into like a punk bar.
Huh.
And it's like, it's the craziest bar I've ever seen. So it's definitely one of those cities you got to go back to multiple times because there's a lot to see and lots to do.
Yeah, it would have been nice to have a tour through the Gayborhood.
Yeah.
Because we were actually walking through the Gayborhood to try to find somewhere to eat, to have lunch. And that's when we eventually were like, oh, well, we'll just walk over to the
next time you're
cheesesteak
up
place.
you come up to New York when I'm up there, we'll take the train in. There's an actual tour guide that they brought on to give us the tour, and they do marginalized group tours. So there's like an LGBT tour, there's a Women of Philadelphia tour, there's a People of Color tour, where they kind of look into the marginalized communities of Philadelphia. And he was super nice, and he was kind of cute too. So next time you're up there, we'll take the train over.
Maybe
we'll go
like the 10th time I go up there. I'll be like,
Yeah, maybe not the first time,
like,
but eventually one of the days when you're up there, we'll take the train over.
The next conference I go to in
Yeah.
Philadelphia, I'll let you
I'll
know.
meet you there.
I don't see myself flying to New York and being like, hey, let's shoot over to Philly for a couple of hours.
I loved Philadelphia. I can see myself going to Philadelphia a couple of times.
if I lived there, sure.
Yeah.
We'll make that happen,
true.
and then you and I will go
True.
there. But
Yeah.
anyway, so yeah, good weeks. I feel like there was something else going on there, but I don't know.
Yeah.
I don't know what.
See, again, because we're recording this on Friday because Monday is Memorial Day. So it's another one of those short weeks because we recorded on Monday. So it's only been a couple of days. So
It feels like it was 3 weeks ago.
for you because you went on a vacation.
A vacation. A vacation. You know what this was? When you go away to a conference, it is not a vacation, especially because we had the St. Pete Pride Guide going to
plus
press.
You got a full itinerary. I
So
getcha.
we were in from 7 in the morning, or we left the 7:50. We left our hotel, and then we'd get back at 5. We'd work for like an hour and a half, and then we'd go to dinner, and we'd come back and we'd work more until the next day and do it all again. But it was just because we had this product going to press.
Yeah.
So you're gonna love it. Check it out, St. Pete Pride Guide.
You don't have to explain it to me.
The official St. Pete Pride Guide.
Yeah.
Now, some other people like to claim they have some official St. Pete Pride something, but the official, the real one is produced by us, and it comes out.
I got official St. Pete Pride calluses on the bottom of my feet from walking that parade route. How about that?
You sound like a tough mutter.
No, one of the things, because I had mentioned that to Ryan, because I had talked to him about that when I had come back, and he's like, oh, no, I really want to go to that. And one thing because he said he was going to go and get one, and I wish I would have picked some up there, but when you go into the gift shop, because it's a medical museum, so there's like a bunch of like weird oddities, but there's also, they talk about different diseases that they've found cures for and different viruses that have overtaken society. So when you go to the gift shop, it has a basket that you go through, and it's these little stuffed animals. Little stuffed plushies. Thank you. That's the word I was looking for. And they're all in the shape of different viruses. So you can buy a plushie of like a chlamydia virus or HIV virus or cancer viruses. And I was like, I should have got a couple of those. And Ryan says, I think someone has a couple of diseases is coming his way when I get back. And unfortunately, it sounds like you didn't go. So I guess I'm disease free.
Why get the plushie when you can have the real thing?
But it's an awesome museum if you like just kind of weird oddity things and weird kind of medical things. It's a fantastic place. Anyway, enough about Philadelphia.
I know, right? What a commercial for Philly.
I know, right?
And they didn't even pay for this.
They should be sponsoring
right?
us.
You know what? They're going to hear this and they're going to say, you know what? Let's give that kid some chlamydia. And they're going to send it to you. They're going to send it to you themselves.
You can send me all the chlamydia you want. I have Doxy Prep at home.
Hey, look, I'm fresh out of the clap. So if you got, that is chlamydia.
Yeah.
Yeah, don't send me the clap.
No.
I like things that are fantasy related. So if you've got any COVID, you can send that my way.
Nothing like a nice fluffy COVID.
Which we're all apparently going to get again, because did you hear that they're only allowing people to get the next vaccines that are this, by the way, is something that I've briefly heard on the radio, so please don't take this as fact at all.
They are only people who the most
the most at risk.
Most at risk. Now, luckily, I have a chronic disease that fits into that category, so I will get my COVID.
I take a medication that suppresses my, so I'll fall into that. But I mean, it's just
anything that messes with your immune system, you fall into that category.
I just have to ask a question. If it exists though, and people want it, who gives a shit?
Right?
Why do we care so much? What you drink Pepsi and Pepsi sucks, so you can't have it anymore. You know, like, oh, well, that's
it's that whole thing where a certain group, political group, they don't like something, so no one can have it. How about mind your fucking business?
Right. Is this because we made you drink out of paper straws?
You know what? We all hate them. I will say, as a liberal, we all hate them.
I gotta say, everybody hates paper straws, but they've come out with some really good ones.
The pasta straws are really good.
Oh, are you being facetious?
No.
Oh my god! No. Wait, we're doing another musical episode, y'all.
No, the pasta straws are really good.
That was like, no, they're not. Wait, are you talking like they're made out of pasta and other things, or it's just pasta?
No. They call them pasta straws, but it's pasta with other stuff.
Because there is a coffee shop in St. Pete that is a long piece of pasta that's hollow that you drink out of, and like an hour into drink, it disintegrates into a messy mush.
This is not the one. This is a place in town here in Orlando.
Okay.
There's a coffee shop downtown that uses, I'll use air quotes, pasta straws. Whatever they make, it's recycled material, but it's pasta material. And they're fine. They're almost like plastic.
There's some place that has like green ones that are biodegradable, and they're just like, they're really great. So, you know.
So there are options.
So if you're still using plastic,
hate paper straws.
Go fuck yourself. Not plastic, paper. Like if you're dishing out paper straws, you're evil.
And
like
paper straws are expensive, so it's not about the price. There are alternatives
like
that are
sadist.
just the same price.
You make people drink out of paper straws, and you sit back behind the counter and giggle watching them like. Anyway, so we watched a film.
We did.
Now, can I preface this, please? Because it's my favorite thing to do.
Absolutely.
From time to time, somebody will suggest the show. Mm-hmm. And we're like, oh, okay, because a lot of times we're just sort of like, oh, what should we do? And we spend some time trying to figure it out, blah, blah, blah. But sometimes we get suggestions, and we're like, oh, somebody suggested this thing. Let's do it. I make the mistake every time we get a suggestion that basically what somebody is saying is, hey, I've watched this film. I enjoyed this film. You should watch it and tell everybody else about it. Mm-hmm. So after I watched...
Was that the case with this?
No.
Oh.
I thought it was.
But it wasn't.
I'm going to call him out. So our sales director, Danny, recommended, and he does listen. So now he's in his car. He's like, "Oh, come on, it couldn't be that bad." So
he's on his way to St. Pete right now for an event. And he's like, "Fuck you guys,"
and that's exactly how he talks to. Hey, no. Sorry, Danny. So he recommends this movie, and I'm like, oh, he must have watched it. So I watched it. We'll get into my opinion later. But afterwards, when I told him what I thought about it, he was like, oh,
I've never
he's
seen
like,
it.
I didn't watch it. I was like, what? Why are you recommending it?
Don't recommend stuff you ain't watched yourself.
Right?
If we're gonna suffer, we're all gonna suffer.
Yeah. So after I watched it, I looked at the Rotten Tomatoes, and I went, So anyway, it looks like a great movie.
It looks fantastic.
It looks like way ahead of its time.
It looks important.
Yeah. It
looks like a lot of things.
It's got a great cast.
Good cast.
In the trailer, this is who you see. You see Octavia Spencer.
Love her.
You see Claire Danes.
Fantastic.
And you see Jim Parsons.
He's okay.
I mean, I haven't. There's not much I've seen him in that I haven't liked, except for I'm sorry to say I was not. I had high hopes for. I want to call it Third Rock from the Sun, but that's not it.
Big Bang Theory.
Big Bang Theory. I had high hopes for that
That's
show.
I was not a fan of that show, and I know that's what he's mostly known for.
And I didn't like that
I've seen him in
either.
a couple other things. He's been in a couple of Ryan Murphy stuff that I thought he was fantastic.
Yeah, he was good in those.
I was just not a big
The
Bang
Normal
Theory.
Heart, he
The
was in
Normal
that.
Heart
He was
great.
fantastic in that.
He had a small part in Hollywood where he played a creepy
was
agent.
a creepy
really
person.
Good. I just wasn't a Big Bang Theory fan.
Yeah, I wasn't that a Big Bang. I wanted
but
it to be
also,
something different, and it was about nerds, not about what the Big Bang Theory is about.
Priyanka Chopra, who is from...
Are you okay?
Yeah.
Bless you.
She's from Slumdog Millionaire, and...
she was in a TV show that I watched religiously,
She was
Quantico.
She was in
I love that
Quantico,
show.
and she was in the Planet of the Apes movie with James Franco.
But more importantly, she's seen Nick Jonas naked.
Yes, she has. Because
I want
they
to
was
be-
together.
I want to be
Are they
you.
still together?
I think so. I looked it up today. It
Good
didn't
for
say
them.
anything about a divorce.
She's also she's gorgeous.
She's
stunning.
She is stunning.
Ann
That's a pretty
Dowd,
couple.
who was
I watched that OnlyFans page.
Ann Dowd was in
I follow them on Twitter now.
She was in The Handmaid's Tale. I think she was also in Osage, Orange County, that movie with Julia Roberts and Meryl Streep.
Yeah.
She was also in that.
She was in The Leftovers.
Leftovers. She's fantastic.
The first comment I made about watching this thing, I was like, ooh, I like this lady.
Yeah.
I love her.
She's amazing. I love her.
Great cast.
Amazing cast.
And the premise of the show is basically this: is they've got the Claire Danes is married to.
Did we even say the name of the movie? The movie's called A Kid Like Jake.
A Kid Like Jake.
Yeah.
So they're Claire Danes and Jim Parsons play the parents.
They're a married couple
of Jake.
Little Jake.
Jake is Jake is 4 years old.
4.
And loves to wear
Dresses.
Love fairy tales.
He loves princesses.
Princesses.
Cinderella is his favorite.
Cinderella.
He loves Rapunzel.
Rapunzel. This is how we're going to make this a 2-hour podcast. We're just going to repeat each other.
He wears tutus throughout the movie.
4/4.
Yeah.
That's so fun. I always make that joke because somebody talks about somebody. It's when you're. I would say this about me. Like somebody here, put on this tutu. I'd be like, I'm sorry. It's called a 4/4 if I have to put it on. But anyway, so it's about this kid being gender fluid, and they're trying to get this kid into private school.
Yeah,
and
because he's currently in preschool
Right.
and he's going into kindergarten. And they had moved to. They're in New York City, and they moved to an area that got redistricted.
Right.
And now they can't. He can't
can't
go
go
to
to
public
school
school that they wanted him to go to.
So they're trying to get him into private school.
schools,
And
yeah.
his current and Claire Danes' best friend is Octavia Spencer, who's a lesbian that is like, hey,
runs a preschool
She runs
that he
preschool.
goes to.
yeah, and she's like, hey, listen, lean into this gender fluidity because you could probably get him into a private school with a scholarship if you do that. So that's sort of the basis of this is like, and then it sort of morphs into other
I actually
things.
wrote it down because here's what she called it. So they're talking, and I wrote down their character names. So I'll just let you know what their character's name is. When I say the names, you're not like, who the fuck is he talking about? Claire Danes plays Alex, and Jim Parsons plays Greg, and Olivia Spencer plays Judy. And Judy and Alex are talking, and Judy tells them to lean into Jake's gender expansive play. Meaning that, when he likes to play.
That sounds like that pup show we watched.
Right? It has a very specific connotation. So she's like, when he plays, it's not just that he likes to dress up as the princess and do play make believe with fairy tales. He leads the play. Like, he tells all the kids, "This is who you are. This is the character you are. I am the princess," and then he leads that. And she goes, lean into that gender expansive play.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So what did you think? No,
Oh, no. I thought you were going to continue on that.
No, I thought it would be funny if I was like, should we start with Rotten Tomatoes and move on? So anyway, I don't know how detailed you want to get about it. There's not a lot. From point A to point B, there's not a lot going on.
And I wrote a note here. This was 45 minutes into the movie. So far, all this movie is walking and talking. More walking and talking. Very little Jake in a movie called A Kid Like Jake.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, so the kid's not in it very much.
Yeah.
And so, I mean, so here's just, maybe we don't have to spend like a huge amount of time. So I'll just say
it's very warm in
that
here.
What it is, that the mother is a stay-at-home mom. She was a lawyer.
Yeah, she was a lawyer.
She decided
Greg
to stay at home.
Greg is a therapist.
Yeah.
He has a practice. She leaves her law firm or her law job to raise Jake.
And probably because she miscarried her first child.
Yes.
And so then she has Jake.
And she
so
gets
she
pregnant
says,
again in this movie.
I'm going to stay with Jake. And so she's with Jake constantly. And she's buying him all of these princess dresses and doing a thing. And they're just living their best life.
Reading fairy tales.
Yeah.
This part of her parenting skills and her personality is great.
Yeah.
She lets Jake be who he is. She lets him explore who he is.
Yeah.
She reads the fairy tales to him. And this is both of them, Greg and Alex. They let him, if he wants a Cinderella doll or a princess dress, they get it for him. They let him lean into who he wants to be.
Right. So then as soon as her friend, the preschool teacher, says, lean into this gender expression, she starts to question, what do you mean by that?
Yeah.
So then it starts to change her. And she gets defensive of it. And I wrote this down because it made me laugh. Jim Parsons. First of all, it's funny because it's Jim Parsons. And he says to Claire Danes, to the mom, when she's like, I don't know what she's talking about. And he's like, well, come on. He's not Johnny Basketball.
Yeah.
And then she's like, what? That's not a phrase. And he's like, I know, but you know what I mean. So basically saying he's not a butch kid, you know. So and then so he starts to say, let's get him to like a therapist that can help him understand what he wants to be or
Greg is a
who he is
himself. So his first thought is, if there's an issue or there's we need clarification in who. In what direction to go with him, maybe it would be good for him to sit down and talk to a therapist. And Alex Claire Danes' character is just like, no, there's no reason for that. And she just, through the whole movie at this point, she starts to bug the shit out of me. She gets defensive at every turn, no matter whether it's Greg or whether it's Judy. Whenever something is recommended,
you said Judy, and I went, and I'm Judy, but I know it's Doonies, but.
But she gets so defensive over everything, and by the end of the film, she's just completely victimized herself. Everything that happens, she's the victim. I guess I'm just the most terrible person in the world. You'd be better off without me.
Yeah. I mean, I think she internalizes everything that happens and blames herself, but then projects that onto other people.
Yeah.
And it's not a very good look on this character. So but then the relationship between them starts to deteriorate because she leans into this, he shouldn't be doing this. So he wants to be Rapunzel for Halloween and she won't let him, and he's screaming and crying and he wants to be Rapunzel. But
he's also developed this, and I don't know if it's more Greg or Alex, maybe it's a little bit of both, but he's developed this defiant nature where he wants his way, and if he doesn't get it, he screams and he pouts and he yells and he hits. In fact, there was one scene when Greg takes him to one of the schools and they let the kids play while the parents talk with the teachers, and they were picking on Jake. So Jake, instead of responding with his words, as the teacher said, we should use our words, not our fists, he hits him. And then when Greg is telling Alex about it, he's like, he was pretending to be the Little Mermaid. And Alex is like, ugh, the Little Mermaid doesn't have a voice. That's why he hit. And it's like she makes these little excuses.
That's hilarious.
And I was like,
Ryan's listening going,
right, yeah,
that
I
tracks.
totally agree.
Yeah.
And she just
Classic
through the
Ariel.
whole movie, she just makes these excuses about why nothing is hers or Jake's fault.
Well, I think they end up saying like one of the kids called him a fag.
A flag.
A flag.
Yeah.
Oh, well.
That's later.
That's
at the birthday party.
That is so indicative of this entire movie. that this movie tap dances around this very important issue. Like tap dances so much that they say flag instead of
but
come
that's
on.
at Jake. He's celebrating his 5th birthday party, and they get in a fight, and Jake storms to his room, and they come out, what's going on? And Slumdog Millionaire Girl, her son says, they said Jake got upset. And the kid goes, well, that's because that other kid called him a flag. And everybody looks at each other because they know what he
Is
meant.
it because he was waving?
And they're like, oh, he said flag.
Yeah, because he was doing this, like
he
they
was
do in
doing
The Little Mermaid.
The Ariel thing.
So you have to really listen to all the episodes to get that joke. So
we're like the MCU. You're not going to understand anything we say if you haven't seen all the past episodes.
If you didn't see my origin story, you're lost on that. My bad. I think that, but the whole idea here is that he starts to get rebellious because they start to give signs that there's something abnormal about him, and he starts to rebel
act
against
like there's
that.
something wrong with him, and he starts to read into
which was their problem. Listen, if you have a kid like Jake, go to it's. There's nothing wrong with therapists. Therapists are there to help you understand things and talk about your feelings and your emotions and get it all out and come to agreement with it. But never make a child feel like they are wrong for being who they are.
Yeah.
It will stay with them forever.
It may seem like a little thing for you, but it will be something they will remember years later, and they will bring it up at Thanksgiving, and you'll be like, I can't believe you remember that. No, of course I remember that. It sticks in there.
You tell a kid who's 12 years old, 4 to 12, 16 years old, you tell them that there is something wrong with the way they feel about like these kind of feelings, and they will never forget it.
Mm-hmm.
And it doesn't matter if you reconcile that and you become best friends. The thing that they will always remember.
There was a time, I won't use their
thing.
name, but there was a relative when I was a kid, and we were all running around. You know how kids are; they run around and they scream and yell. We were running around the house, and I remember a relative saying, "You need to calm down. You scream like a girl." And I have remembered that I was like maybe 7 or 8, and I have remembered that my whole life. And every time I see this family member, I'm kind, I'm cordial, but in the back of my head, I'm like, go fuck yourself.
Yeah, and even
I'm 46, and I still every time I see, I'm like, go fuck yourself.
Even if you're like, hey, I accept you, and that's all fine, and then like, hey, when you go to school, don't tell anybody that you're this. That says to that person, you are wrong for what you believe or who you are, and that sticks with you. It just does, no matter how great everything gets later. So anyway, that is my advice. Yeah, that is my parenting advice from a childless man.
You know how many notes I have in here? Listen, I don't have a kid, but you're being a fucking bitch. You need to calm down.
I don't have a kid, but
all
I would.
All of my notes start with, I don't have a kid, but you're a horrible parent. That's true. You once was a kid, so I know.
I don't have a kid, but if that was my kid screaming at that restaurant today, I'd have punched him.
Well,
I almost punched that kid and it wasn't even mine. That's probably why.
Anyway, one scene I do
don't
want
have
to
kids
talk
because
about.
I have to plan it.
Yeah, one scene I want to talk about is the dinner scene, because everyone at that scene pissed me off.
Let's do it.
Greg and Alex go to have dinner with Amal, who is their friend, the lady from Slumdog Millionaire, and her boyfriend, who's played by Asif Mandavi, who used to be on The Daily Show.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
Right. I knew him from somewhere.
So they're talking, and already Greg and Alex are kind of passive-aggressive with each other, because that's how their relationship is. Greg thinks that Jake should probably see a therapist. Alex thinks everything's fine, and Greg is just, you go to work every day. I'm with Jake every day, so I know him. And I've seen that growing up. Moms are always that way with the dads. Like, you go away to work, I'm with the kids all day. I think I know. They're my kids. And it's like, well, we're his kids too.
And then it puts a lot of pressure on the dad. So the dad sleeps with the secretary. This is a vicious cycle.
Horrible. Anyway, so they're already in kind of a passive-aggressive nature. So they step out because the grandma is babysitting Jake, and she calls, and they take the call, and he's acting out and threw his Cinderella action figure at grandma. So they're outside talking. Then they come back in, and the couple, the boyfriend starts talking about how Caitlyn Jenner, and Alex is like, "Why are we talking about Caitlyn Jenner?" And he's like, "Well, you know, Amal mentioned how Jake is, and then there's just like this tension, and all four, it's like at that point, no one refused to say the right thing. They all just said the worst, stupidest things like, no. It's like, well, you don't understand because you don't have kids. And it's like, oh, well, you don't understand because your boyfriend is queer. And it's just like this go around with the four of them where they're all just saying all the wrong things, and they all get in an argument, and then they're like, just bring the check, we're leaving. And at the end of the dinner, I'm just like, all of you are assholes. I hate everyone at this table right now. You all should just go home and just, calm down because it's obnoxious. I hated the dinner scene. Everyone at the dinner scene pissed me off.
I want to apologize for that.
You weren't listening to me at all?
I was, but I also just got a text message that we got an offer on our house, and it's a legit cool offer.
Oh, congratulations.
So I just got really excited.
Happening in real time.
In real time. I don't know if I'm going to accept it, but we'll see.
Very nice. Very nice.
They want like a $10,000 credit though, so we'll see. It still falls in the range.
Do they want all your furniture?
There's no. I don't know, but it's somebody who just saw it and made an offer immediately.
Oh, nice.
So that's a good sign.
Great
I was
job.
like, you sound thirsty, bitch. I'm gonna make you pay more. And I'm just kidding. So anyway,
I do want to say this one thing. Aside from this, is this movie is about 90 minutes long. It's like right there at the cusp of a 90-minute movie, well, your standard time for a movie. This movie felt longer than that. And I think part of that is, and I think these scenes were added in to add fluff to it and maybe to add more context to who Greg was, but completely can be removed and have no bearing on the story whatsoever. All of the scenes at his therapy office with that girl, like, I don't need any of that.
I don't really know what that was all about.
It was just
It wasn't even a metaphor.
No.
Oh, you know what it was? I guess I don't even know what it was a metaphor for.
Yeah.
It was just to show him. I think it was to show him and how he's like
how he handles
conflict and but then he started to deteriorate in the way that he handled that towards the end. And like, what was the thing about the screaming people and then they left? Like, what did that even matter?
I'll be honest, because there's 5 scenes. I think I counted 5 scenes of him with this one particular patient in his office, and then he shares a wall. The office next door is another therapist who specializes in screaming therapy. So basically, she brings the client in, or the patient, and they scream out their frustrations. So he goes to one day, it's just the screaming's too much for him, and he goes and he knocks, and he's like, "Listen, I know you're in with a patient, but the screaming is too much." And she's like, "I don't have a patient right now." And I think that's their way of saying that the screaming isn't her patient, it's her dealing with shit, and that he needs to be more open to how people are feeling. I'm sure there's a whole story that when they were writing the screenplay, that, oh, this will be really good to show he needs to be open-minded. Take all those scenes out. They don't matter to the story. I don't give a fuck about his patients. I don't give a fuck about who he shares the office with. They have nothing to do with the story. But the last 2 scenes, I fast forwarded through. I'm gonna be honest. I didn't watch the last 2 scenes of him at the therapist office.
Oh, okay. I was like, of the movie?
No. Of his, when I was watching the movie, and then when it shows him with his patient, I was like, nope, we don't care about what she has to say. I fast forwarded through them. And even fast forwarding through those 2 scenes, and the second one is like 5 minutes long of her, whatever the hell she talked about. The movie still felt like it was a 4-hour movie. The thing just feels long.
Yeah, it's imagine it like this. So we try to aim for a 90-minute podcast. Sometimes we're like an hour and 45 minutes.
We might come under.
So let's just that's where we go for. So imagine that in that frame you actually had to listen to all 122 episodes. That's what it felt like watching this. It's like it was so much.
It's just a lot. It's like the story is Jake and the parents dealing with who Jake is. Leave it at that. You don't have to add the extra fluff in there.
The thing is that it's a great story.
It is a great concept of a story if it was handled right.
But what they did is they tap danced around the issue instead of attacking it. And you could tell they tried to in one scene. There was one scene where they went at it, the parents.
Yes.
And they
towards the end.
Yeah, and they tried to do this. And then she said some terrible things. He said some terrible things. And then they sort of came to a resolution.
This may be my favorite part of the movie, where he's like, I'm going to go pick up Jake and we're going to go get ice cream. And she's like, yeah, that's right. Walk away from the problem. And he stops at the door. And I was like, don't walk out. Get back in there and fucking defend yourself. And he goes back in and he's like, fine, you want to have this argument? We'll have this argument. That's my favorite part of the movie. Yeah. When they start to hash it out. If they had done that the whole movie, it'd have been fantastic.
Yeah,
Focus on that.
I don't know if we talked about this, but she had that miscarriage and then Jake,
so she
got pregnant again.
And then she had...
After their big fight, she miscarried again.
No.
It was after the restaurant.
Because the fight is started off... It was
after the restaurant.
Octavia Spencer scene.
That's right.
Because, so Judy runs the preschool that Jake goes to. So she brings Alex and Greg in and says, listen, he didn't get accepted into any of the schools, and we need to talk about why. And the big thing was his behavior issues, the way he lashed out at kids, and the way he was reacting to kids talking about the way that he was.
Yeah, and she's like, deal with this thing that he's going through.
We need to focus on this. And then Claire Danes' character tells Judy, maybe if you had kids of your own, you'd understand. And I was like, what a cold bitch thing to say.
Right? What an Elon Musky thing. Yeah. No, I'm just kidding.
But before she says that,
it wasn't Elon Musk. It was the MAGA thing. Like JD Vance. It was a JD Vance thing.
They don't mention that Octavia Spencer is gay. She's a lesbian in this movie. But here, Claire Danes' character starts to push, and she's like, I think maybe you wanted me to add Jake's gender nonconformity into this because maybe you're pushing an agenda. And she's like, what do you mean? And she's like, the way that you are, maybe you have an agenda. And the look in Octavia Spencer, like, ooh, hit her.
She gonna serve you a shit pie.
Yeah. I was like, if you hit her,
joke.
It will totally be valid. And she's like, what do you mean? My agenda, because of who I am, because of how I live. And she's
because
like,
if I groom one more, I get a toaster oven.
Yeah. And she's like, well, maybe if you had kids of your own instead of just watching other kids at your daycare. And she's like, I think you need to fucking leave now. And then Claire Danes and Greg and Alex leave. And on the staircase, Alex has this pass out moment. And then ends up in the hospital, and then has a miscarriage because of the stress that she brought on herself. I don't like to blame people, but it's all your fault.
I have nothing to do with this part of the conversation.
But she ended up having a miscarriage. And after treating Judy that way...
The views expressed in this podcast are not always the views.
I'm just saying. The way that she treated Judy, and then Judy turned around and checked up on her. Is she doing okay? Is there anything I can do?
Judy is a good person.
Judy is a ride or die.
Judy's a good person.
I would go to war for Judy. Alex can suck a dick. I would go to war for Judy.
Yeah, so, I mean, I think that Alex comes to terms with the fact that...
by the end of it, she realizes it was all her fault.
All of this is her anxiety over the fact that she miscarries and she thinks there's something wrong with her, which I think the story could have done without.
Yeah. I think part of the thing that ties into Jake with that, I think that she feels like, I miscarried... Jake is my miracle baby, so I dote on Jake. And I think part of her thinks that Jake is the way that he is because she dotes and mothers him too much. And in that, she starts lashing out, oh no, it's your fault because you're not man enough, Jim Parsons, and it's your fault, Judy, because you're a lesbian.
See, and I know this is hard for parents to get. I mean, I don't know this because I'm not one, but I was a child. So I get, this is what's hard for parents to understand, is there is something different about your child, and you look for a reason why.
Yeah.
And in doing that, you make the situation bad. Mm-hmm. Nothing is wrong. So there's no reason why. It's just what is. So accept it and move on.
I had this conversation with a friend of mine way back. This was like 20 years back in the day when I first got in the military. I had made these friends at Express Scripts where I worked. And the husband of one of my friends, him and I ended up having this heated discussion because he told me that as a gay person and LGBTQ people in general need to allow their parents time to grieve when they find out that their kid is queer. And I was like, I don't know what the fuck you're going on about. And he's like, well, when you have a kid, you have these expectations. Like, my kid is going to be this, or my kid is going to be that. And they're going to have a beautiful wife and
They
kids.
sound like terrible parents.
Yeah. And then I just want to say, I don't know where he is, but my friend, I was friends with her and then her husband. They're now divorced. But I was
Classic straight
I was
people.
like,
No, I'm
I
just
will
kidding.
tell you, and this is my biggest problem with heterosexual couples, is once you give birth to that kid, it's your responsibility to keep them safe, not to put expectations of what you want.
Right.
And when you put those expectations and then you're like, I have to grieve because you're not who I wanted you to be, you put a rift in that relationship. And 20, 30 years from now, when you're like, why doesn't my kid call me anymore? Because you were a bitch 30 years ago. That's why they don't call you
Yeah.
anymore.
Or maybe because you don't answer your phone.
Yeah.
Just kidding.
Also, check your phone. Maybe they are calling.
I'm kidding, Ma. I love ya.
But I said it's one of those things. Like I said, it's like a fleeting moment for them, but it's one of those moments that sticks with you.
Yeah.
And that conversation with him, we were having it in the driveway of the house, and I was renting a room for them, so we were all living together. And him just being like, "You have to allow parents to grieve." No. You need to stop putting expectations on your kids.
Yeah.
Let them just protect them. That's all you fucking have to do.
I'll say this about that though. I don't like the terminology grieving. Yeah, that's not good terminology.
Yeah.
But when I came out, like I was very upset about being gay for many years, and I finally came to terms with it. And then when I told my mom about it, in my brain I said, it took you years to come to terms with this. So give her some time too.
Yeah.
Like you don't.
I understand
Like she
that.
doesn't have to come out of the gate being like, "Oh, I
Coming
love you."
to
Everything's
terms
fine.
with it
Yeah,
is, and like I said, it probably was the wording. Coming to terms with it, way different than grieving the death of the kid that you thought you had.
Right.
It's just because it puts that burden on the kid.
Oh, okay. Well, that's great. Now give me time to grieve the fact that I thought I had a good
Yeah,
relationship with my
I thought
parents.
I had a good dad. Sorry, you turned out
Yeah.
to be an asshole.
Also-
Allow me time to come over that.
Unconditional love just died. Give me a
Yeah.
minute. So anyway,
Now, I will say, just saying that, I do want to give a shout out because with all
I went like this and it looked like I was dabbing. So I
with
did.
all of that, while I lash out at people like that, I do want to give a shout out to my parents because they were nothing like that. And they were super accepting. And I know that I am privileged and lucky in that. So I just want to give a shout out to my parents for being fantastic that way and not putting those expectations on me.
I appreciate you
But
taking
then
the
again,
time
they
to.
also had two other sons. So they may have thought, he can be queer. We have two other sons to carry on the lineage.
Yeah, we got two good ones. I appreciate you taking the time to acknowledge the privileged space in which you were telling that story.
Listen, I recognize that this land we live on was founded on privilege, and I am a
There's nothing privileged about this land right now.
I am privileged
wanna
to
say-
have some of that privilege.
I do want to say, because you talked about your favorite part of the movie.
Yeah.
My favorite part of the movie was when Judy went on her apology tour, because right after the argument.
Oh, you mean Alex? Alex went on the apology
Alex.
tour.
She went on an
yes.
apology tour right after the fight with her husband, and she realized that maybe she was.
And in that scene, you can see it.
Yeah.
Like they're fighting.
She's a good
and you
actress,
can,
so-
I love Claire Danes.
She did. She
You can
did
see
good.
it in her eyes where, like, she doesn't say this, but in her eyes, she says, "Oh fuck, I messed up."
Yeah.
I fucked up here.
So then she goes to Judy's house to apologize to Judy, and they're having a conversation, and Judy's wife walks in, and Judy's just looks at Amy.
Alex.
Alex.
Yeah.
She looks at Alex and just gives her this death stare and walks away. And she's like, she hates me, doesn't she? And Judy's like, she'll get over it.
She'll get over it.
Meaning like she
And then
does
they
hate you.
laugh
And then they laugh.
drink their coffee, and it's like, all right, they'll be fine.
Yeah, so that was fine.
Yeah, I love that part where she comes in and she's like,
But then,
Alex.
so it ends. So she goes on her apology tour, and then it ends with them taking Jake to a therapist.
yes, they
And
end
that's
up
the
going to a
end.
therapist, and then this part After the therapy session, they cut to a scene. Alex is walking through the park to go pick Jake up because he's with his grandma. And then the grandma goes on this tirade about why bicyclists suck. And I was like, I want to see that movie. Why does grandma fucking hate people who ride bikes?
I feel like maybe that was a part where I was sleeping.
Oh,
I knew
it's
there'd be
towards the
one.
end. Alex is walking through the
one.
park, and a grandma yells at this bicyclist, and she looks down at Jake, and she's like, "Don't ever let me see you on a bicycle." And I was like, where did that come from? Anyway, so then they pick her up, and then we find out Jake gets into a good school. I'll use air quotes because he got into a good school. And then they take him to his therapist, and all is right with the world. Happy ending.
Okay, so what do you think Rotten Tomatoes was on this? Or do you want to do your grapes first?
I'll do my grape. Okay, we're doing it on we do it on a 5 grape scale. I will go 2.5 grapes. I'll go in the middle. It's not a great movie, but I think what it is the
It's
cast
not good.
is
It's
fantastic.
great.
But it's there's a concept of a great story there.
It does have a concept because I was
Yeah.
going to go 2.
And the cast is great.
We sound like a Trump speaker. I have a concept.
I have a concept of
an
a
idea.
story.
All right, a concept
2
of a
for
plan.
the movie, but I will give the extra half a grape to just the amazing cast. This cast is stacked.
I can give you that. The cast is good, and
Yeah.
it's just
and even though it's not a well-written story, they act the fuck out of this.
do you want to guess Rotten Tomatoes and then I'll read some of the reviews, or
Sure.
read the reviews and then you guess?
No, I'll get. I will say, is there a critics and an audience
Yes.
score? Okay,
Now,
critics.
there's about 50 critics and about 30-something audience, something like that.
Oh, is that it?
Or yeah.
I know that because this came in 2018, but it was like a super independent film, so I know it didn't get a lot of attention. But I'll say this seems like something that might be up a critic's alley, so I'll say 65. And audiences, I don't know, I'll go 52.
52 for critics.
Oh, all right.
Audience is 46.
Ooh, all right. So less than I thought.
So here's some of the.
I got one right, but for the wrong group.
Here's some of the things that I wrote down because I kind
Okay.
of agreed with them. Danes gives her very considerable best, but there's something weirdly inhibited about this movie because it just seemed to tap dance around things, and it just seemed to get into
I can see that.
like, oh, well, we want this person to be upset about it, but we can't get too upset because we don't want to offend anybody.
Yeah.
Somebody else said a contemporary premise with serious dramatic potential is all but squandered by dull direction and emotionally clinical acting. I don't know if I agree with that.
The acting part I don't agree with, but I can agree with the direction and the writing.
It's a daring premise, which makes Howard's fluffy approach to the material all the more frustrating. I think this was a really poor display of a child with gender exploration. It felt forced and had no resolution. It felt as though they were scrambling to find something interesting about the subject matter when truly there were so many more intriguing paths it could have taken. My favorite review: I would be confused if Sheldon was my dad too.
Oh, Sheldon. I don't know if you looked at this director, but just a couple of the things that he's directed other than A Kid Like Jake. He did the Quantum Leap reboot. He directed some of the episodes of that.
I love Quantum Leap.
He directed A League of Their Own reboot, the TV series.
I love that TV series.
The Affair, one episode of that series.
I hate that. No, I'm just kidding. I don't know that.
He did an episode of Pose. And
Well,
that's
look, he got this out of his system and then some really good stuff afterwards.
and
I
an
love
episode
Quantum
of
Leap's
This Is
reboot.
Us.
I love This Is Us.
So he's TV-wise, he's done a lot of really interesting, good things.
You know what, sir?
I don't know why
apologize. I
he
take
felt
everything
so-
back. 5 grapes.
I don't know why he felt so safe with this. Like he was so he didn't want to,
Yeah.
really tackle the subject. But like I said, it's worth watching for the performances. And
It's
there's
a good
really
story.
good
It's just-
concept of a story.
I
there.
wanted to have a religious experience,
it's
and I didn't.
based
But
off
other
of
than that,
a
it's good.
play, which after learning that, you can going back and you can say, okay, it feels play-like. I would be interested to see this on a stage to see how
With
it
the
does on
same
stage.
cast.
Yeah, because it's a very, like I said, it's a very walkie-talkie movie. They're doing a lot of walking and talking and walking, which works well for plays because you walk around the stage and then talk. And then I think it would work great as a play. I'd love to see this cast as a play.
Let's do it.
Let's do it. Let's
Let's
get it
produce
together.
it.
Let's do it.
Hey, let's do a French show next year.
Okay. Oh, I won't be here.
Why people
Let's do a
travel for fringe
Let's
shows?
do a Broadway show. I'll be up there.
Let's start off right
All right, we'll start small.
we'll start at the duplex cabaret.
Okay.
Here we go. Nobody steal that idea. We're doing it.
We're doing it. So next week we will be back. We actually have the movie picked out.
We do.
Which is a really interesting way that we came about this movie. So there's a new movie out called Things Like This that just opened in theaters this past weekend. It is about a plus-size gay man who is looking for love, and he meets somebody from his past in New York City, and they reconnect. Not that I'm trying to make connections with this movie.
Wait, you went from The Whale to this movie?
So, it's interesting. This movie came to us because I had seen the trailer advertised on Facebook, but the author, one of the marketing people for the film had read my story I wrote last year about discrimination against plus size people in the community and said, I read your story and I think that you would really be interested in this movie, and sent me the screener for us to watch, and it set up an interview for us to talk to the star of the movie.
That's awesome.
So it's called Things Like This, and it's a really interesting. It's in theater, just opened this past weekend. So if it's in a theater near you, it's an independent film, so it's in select theaters. If it's near you, watch it. We're gonna watch the screener, and we're gonna talk about it on the next episode.
We are.
It's gonna
And then
be
if we liked
fantastic.
it, well, you'll interview the guy.
And I'll interview him.
Well,
I'll
you'll
tell him
interview the
I
guy
liked it.
either way. If we liked it, you'll tell him to listen. If we didn't.
If we didn't like it, I'll be like, "What podcast? I
And
don't know
have
what
to-
she's
and I'm
talking
gonna
about."
make this joke now, so if he listens to the next one, I won't have to make it. But when you said this guy meets someone, and you said this plus size guy meets someone, I thought for sure I heard eats. And then
You know
it
what?
made me laugh.
As a fat gay guy, I don't appreciate your joke. However, this movie, I don't know Max, who's the guy who's the lead, and I think he wrote the screenplay also. He does. I'm going to look into his filmography. He doesn't look like familiar, like I've seen him and everything.
No.
But the
love
romantic,
interest.
love interest is the guy from Love, Simon, who works, the Jewish guy who works at the Waffle House, who's going to celebrate Hanukkah with his family.
Yes.
And it's that guy.
He's also he's been in other shows too.
Yeah. That's just the big thing I
There's
remember
always some
from.
sort of gay connotation to the things I've seen him in.
Yeah.
So I kind of I like him.
We're gonna watch that. We're gonna talk about that next week. So it should be a good time. But until then, the cork is back in the bottle.